Hello and welcome back to another episode of the On the Sideline podcast with Jackson and Kyle. I am Jackson, and I'm joined here, as always, by the man who is ready to vote for Josh Allen to win MVP. Kyle, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing? Eventful day of football indeed. So, I thought there was some good stuff going on, and that game. Yeah, that game was not the best like we anticipated, but a lot to talk about.
Yeah, really. I mean, James Cook should be the MVP.
Yeah, I mean, most impactful player there, right?
Yeah, I think in that game, certainly you can argue.
Uh-huh.
We'll get into all of that for sure. I don't know. Very fun. I felt like first slate of football, and very fun. Some duds here as well, though.
Yeah, there was some, but there were some really competitive games too. So, I think I was overall pretty pleased with it, and we're learning more and more about these teams as we go on, right? Like we have a lot of stuff's being revealed here, and it feels like we're starting to get an idea of the contenders versus the pretenders, at least, right? I mean, the playoff picture, at least in the AFC, feels a little more clear this week.
I don't know. I feel like it's wide open. Somebody like, with a lot of these teams that could make the play. There's like a dozen teams that feel like they're fringe playoffs at this point.
There's still teams there, definitely, but I don't know. We'll get into it. Let's
Yeah,
talk
we
about
agree.
some
We
of
don't
the.
agree.
Let's
Apparently, we don't agree
Yeah,
with anything. So, it should be an interesting show. Let's start off
yeah.
as always with the Sunday night show. As game kind of went as expected. I mean, the Jaguars defense were able to keep them kind of hanging around, but we still don't know the health of Lawrence. But either way, the Jacksonville offense not able to get a ton going here as kind of expected. Really, this Ravens defense continues to be fantastic. Ravens offense not even spectacular in this one, but enough to get the victory.
Yeah, definitely enough to get the victory. Like you mentioned, Jacksonville, they went 0-3 in the red zone, and not only 0-3, they didn't get any points in those red zone trips, which is not too great.
Yeah.
One of them was like a 4th and 10 at the end of the game, trying to score a touchdown. So, take that with a grain of salt. But there's also, just some miscues I thought throughout the game for Jacksonville, and this was a very Ravens-esque performance, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
we definitely saw the signs of the passing game that looks much improved this season with all these weapons. I thought we saw that early on, but then it was also just very methodical Ravens. They're going to get their ball, they're going to dominate time of possession. It feels like, they're going to move up and down the field, and they didn't score every time, but they did what they had to do and they got out of town. I thought it was a good Ravens win. They felt in control throughout. Lamar felt it control in throughout. And they did another checkbox in the Ravens mark for this season.
Yeah, and big win for Baltimore as they're trying to get the 1 seed. They have 2 tough games coming up, so now you don't have to win both of them. You just have to win one of them. The Jaguars are interesting because we all kind of view the Jaguars like, okay, you're the 4 seed, you're the 4 seed, you're the 4 seed. Kyle, I did my ESPN playoff machine. If they don't go 3-0, they would be out of the playoffs altogether. Doing that. They're currently 8-6, but the way tiebreakers work, if they went 10-7, I would have the Colts winning the division and them being dropped out. So, granted, the 3 games they have to play are 3 winnable games. They play Tampa Bay, Carolina, and Tennessee. So you feel okay, but I don't know, 2 of those teams won today, and one of them went to overtime. So, they got some work to do.
They definitely have some work to do, and yeah, I mean, it felt like we were ready to pencil this team into the playoffs for weeks, right? Like, it felt like this team was, almost in Sharpie as the 4 seed in the AFC, like you were saying, and
we were talking about them as potential 1 seed at one point.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there's just too many. I mean, you can blame the injuries, and that's fair to an extent. I mean, everyone's kind of injured at this point, so I only take it with a grain of salt. But there are some injuries on the offensive side of the ball. You saw Zay Flowers go down in this game too. But I thought one of the things that was just glaringly obvious in this game, and we've said it about this Jacksonville team for years. This is not a new take. And Collinsworth harped on it pretty harshly, I thought, too, towards the end of this game, is like, for Jacksonville moving forward, and I don't want to say they haven't tried because they have tried. They drafted a lot of pass rushers in the first round these past few years. They just drafted the wrong guys.
Right.
They have tried to address this issue, but This team has to beat Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen in the playoffs, seemingly for the next decade. That is what it's going to take for Jacksonville to win a Super Bowl. And I just look at this pass rush and, they got pressure on some of these plays. I thought when they actually started, the first 3 or 4 plays, it looked like Lamar was just going to put this defense in hell because he just, the first 3 or 4 plays were just absolutely all Ravens. He dominated those plays. It looked awesome. And then, Josh Allen got some wins, but they have to address this issue, I think, if we want to take this team seriously as a contender, because you look at those quarterbacks we just mentioned they have to beat in the playoffs for the next decade. And they can't touch any of those guys. They're not going to consistently get pressure on any of them, disrupt any of them, and they just don't have the pass rushing horses to actually make it happen. So that's the toughest thing I look at with this Jaguars team, because their coverage numbers have not looked good this season. They haven't been good, but I watched this game, and guys are actually doing a good job covering the field. They're doing a good secondary. It's just they have to cover for 10 seconds because they can't get to the quarterback.
Yeah. I was funny. While you're doing that, I looked up the top free agent edge rusher to see, okay, is there someone that maybe they could add a guy? Number 1 on the list, Josh Allen. So no, that's not good. That's not the way you want to be going there. I don't know. People were raving about Collinsworth did a whole package on Trayvon Walker in this game. So he was impressed with I don't know. Trayvon Walker would not get talked about if he wasn't picked first overall. He had a sack. Again, it's his one move. It's a solid move. He's not an invaluable player, but I would also say Trayvon Walker probably shouldn't have more snaps on the year than Josh Allen.
No, I would agree with that. And look, I mean, you can make the argument. Yes, I agree. He is a pretty good run defender. That is his. But the problem is, you drafted a number 1 overall to play defensive end. You know what you don't want your number 1 overall pick defensive end to do? Be a run stuffer. That's not, you're not drafting the Clelin Ferrell for the number 1 overall pick for that reason. You can draft him 3rd, I guess, but no. But yeah. But yeah, I mean, you're not drafting those guys to go number 1 overall to stop the run. That's just not what the value is. So, maybe he continues to get better. He still has the awesome athletic traits. Yeah. But for this team right now that is trying to win a Super Bowl, I don't think he's ready to be that guy. And that's obviously one of the issues.
I also think his run defense is overrated, but we don't need to go down to that whole thing again. Let's move on. Why don't we? Let's go to wrong game. Falcons Panthers. So let's start this one off with a complete banger of a game. As this was incredible. It was a bad weather game, which these teams do not need anything hurting them. Desmond Ridder was an absolute mess in this one. I mean, there were just some awful plays, including just a dumb interception. So the Panthers, not doing a lot. They're down 6-7. The Falcons are in the red zone, or at least close to the red zone, in field goal range. Desmond Ridder, with 7.5 minutes left, throws an interception. The Panthers actually get a drive going where they run the entire clock down, all 7.5 minutes, 17-play drive, get the game-winning field goal. Bryce Young did make a couple nice plays on that one, but the Falcons looking dead right here.
Yeah, this is just one of the worst losses of the year, right? I mean, it's inexcusable. How is it that Carolina might take out 2 playoff teams this year? There are 2 teams that might legitimately miss the playoffs because they lost to Carolina.
Yeah,
I mean, think about that. I mean, look, good for Carolina. They got the win. I actually think Bryce Young was better than he only threw for 167 yards, but this was one of his more composed games, I thought, of the year. And the offense didn't look too shabby. I thought, like you said, it was a weather situation. But man, this feels like, you can praise Carolina, but this feels like such a bummer, right?
Yeah,
we keep trying to convince ourselves this is the team because they have talent. And yes, we could blame Arthur Smith. Yes, we can blame this and that and everything else. But why isn't talent eventually winning out for the Atlanta Falcons? Is it just I refuse to believe that talent isn't just winning out because Arthur Smith is that bad of a coach. I don't believe that is the case.
Well, also they have Desmond Ridder.
That's true.
We always talk about every preview show, the 2 most important people, head coach and quarterback, and it's they're over 2. Those are
Yeah.
tier 5 in both of those things. Like that's why. Like that's the reason. Like they have a head coach who specifically thinks that Jonnu Smith should be the key part of the offense, and then you have a quarterback who he'll make 3 or 4 just absolute bone. Like he tried to throw a pick 6 to Brian Burns. It just didn't happen. Like they got lucky that they had a chance to win this game.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see, what does this team do in the offseason? How do they address this? Because this team feels like this is another one of the, like, especially with the Saints kind of going up and down this year, like this feels like it's the team talented enough to kind of take this division. And a lot of this talent is young too. Like it feels like that this division is theirs for the taking for the next 4 or 5 years. And they need to add talent. They need to add those 2 positions. They need to hit that to really maximize what they've done around here.
Yeah. Also, I mean, got to talk about Bijan Robinson. 7 carries in this game for 11 yards. I don't know. Kyle, who would you rather have? Jahmyr Gibbs or Bijan Robinson?
Gibbs looked good this week too. So, I'm not panicking about Bijan or anything like that. Obviously, he's still really good. This was obviously a bad game because there was also a fumble loss too, along with the poor numbers. So, this is the obviously the risk you carry with the top 10 running back, even though I advocated for it.
Who's better, Bijan Robinson or Tyler Algier?
Bijan.
I don't know. I think Algier's played him better this year.
Has he really though? Like, I don't know. Like, there's still the game-breaking stuff with Bijan that, like, there's like 5 guys that has that.
You're right. I mean, Bijan will get the more splash plays, but I think probably on a down-to-down basis. I would probably take Bijan, but I don't think it's a big jump.
Yeah, I mean that's fair because I mean Algier is steady, and I mean I think it also
Algier's good.
To,
I mean that's
he's a good running back.
Yeah.
And that's probably where the draft pick didn't make sense. But I still think the ceiling of Bijan is insurmountably higher than maybe any running back.
Yeah, I think that's why you take him because he can hit the home runs even if his maybe doesn't quite have the batting average of Algier. His batting average is still pretty good. Bad game by him though. Yeah, want to move on?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Let's go to. I guess let's keep it with the NFC South a little bit. I mean, these are the games to talk about. How about Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Baker Mayfield, Kyle, get this number into your head. 381 yards on 28 attempts from Mayfield, along with 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. It was easily a perfect passer rating game. He was at he was at 155 passer rating and then threw a 50-yard touchdown. So, good stuff by Mayfield. And he did make some tough throws. Also some real bad defense by Joe Barry's Packers. I don't know what he was thinking on some of them. So I don't know. Weird game. I'm going to get excited for a bit. Very fun game as a Buccaneers fan. Hey, who knew? Chris Godwin, they're giving him the ball makes the offense work better. And I mean, Mayfield's going to have his issues. And I mean, he was throwing the ball. He was throwing everything. He was not afraid to make any throw, and he hit all of them today. So you're happy about it. Obviously, some of those are going to turn into turnovers later on in the year. But if this offense can play like even a fraction of this, if this offense can, be a legitimate good offense, all of a sudden Tampa Bay looks a little bit more interesting heading into the postseason.
Yeah, I mean, definitely looks a little bit more interesting. Mayfield was terrific in this game, and the passing offense, like you said, was terrific. And I mean, it wasn't even just like that they threw the ball over the yard. It was like big plays. It seemed like they were always coming up. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. They were 8 for 12 on 3rd and 4th down. 18 of their 22 first downs were on passing plays. They just killed this team through the air. And I mean, we can get on the Packers defense. I know people are pretty excited to bring up the Packers defensive coordinator here, but I mean, this was an ass kicking, and Tampa Bay's offense looked terrific. I mean, this was probably the best Godwin's looked this year. He's kind of had up and down numbers, it felt like at times. And I mean, you can't complain about a single thing Baker Mayfield did. Once again, probably the best value signing of the entire season. Like, just from top to bottom. I mean, he's been incredibly impactful. And, I really like, if this is Kyle Trask, if they just said, we're going to roll with Kyle Trask, is this a 3-win team?
Yeah. I think they're competing for the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah. I mean, that's just a huge difference he's made. I mean, to say a quarterback has added 4 wins of value to a franchise is like that's you're getting towards the top tier of quarterbacks. He's obviously not that because I also think he's lost some games, but
Right.
he just overall I think he's been incredibly impactful in some of these big games.
And in fairness, I think Kyle Trask might be below the average backup quarterback as well, which is
Yes.
part of what makes the jump a little bit bigger. Overlap 618 with the super chat. I put all my monies on the Falcons, and I'm in financial ruins. 1-800 bets off. This is overlap. Overlap. That's kind of on you putting all your money on the Falcons.
Yeah, never trust a team from Atlanta. Any sport.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Yeah, I know, just a fun game. Also, another interesting thing we have to talk about with Tampa Bay, kind of the other big headline, the Devin White situation. So we still haven't gotten exactly clear, we don't know exactly what happened. It seems like what happened was Devin White was cleared to go. He was cleared to play. Todd Bowles made the decision to start KJ Britt over White, and White was going to be the third linebacker because Britt has come in and he's played solid. He's been a guy who's typically in the position he needs to be in, makes a tackle when he has to make a tackle, which is a pretty big upgrade from what White does. So White was going to be the third linebacker. Then it seems like White said, well, actually, now I'm not ready to go. I'm not going to, seems like he didn't want to push through an injury if he wasn't going to be a starter. So drama going on there for one of the, more frustrating players in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, and I don't really know what to make of it. Like, I mean, is Devin White worth the headache at this point? Like,
right.
I mean, he's someone that, I had really highly rated when he came out of the draft. I mean, he's an incredible athlete. There's not many linebackers who can move sideline to sideline like that. And tackle, just all that stuff he does well. But he just never seemed to really figure out the nuances, and it's incredible that he's spent this much time with Levante David and doesn't seem to know like simple positioning.
Yeah.
Like at that point, that's on you, right? And I mean, I think that's a bit of a problem. And if KJ Britt right now looks like the better defensive player, so as much as I want Devin White to figure it out because I think he can be a really good player. He's got to want to figure that out himself.
Oh, he's going to go to New England and be an All-Pro, right?
I guess it's possible. Yeah, I mean, they did it with like Jamie Collins had a similar issue where incredible athlete, but didn't quite, get all the understanding of like, the football IQ didn't seem like was always there. But maybe Devin White can be a similar thing.
Yeah, and we should mention, everything I'm saying is rumors. We don't know the exact details. So, but yeah, and Todd Bowles gave an answer at a press conference that I had no idea what he was trying to say. So, tough loss for the Packers. Might be. We talked about last week being maybe the toughest loss of their season. Well, this is then probably their second toughest. I mean, they had an opportunity in this game. I really feel like if they let Jordan Love play, like just throw the ball a little earlier. Listen, Love's not perfect. He's going to miss throws. He's going to make the occasional dumb decision. But Jordan Love was playing really well in the second half. And I thought they kind of took the ball out of his hands in the first half. I know that they scored 10 in each half, but like I thought that they could have had an opportunity to stay closer in this game. They fell behind and listen, they were giving up touchdowns on every drive. I don't know if it would have done anything, but I guess the one takeaway is for Green Bay, even though it seems like you're further away from making the playoffs, you might be closer along in the long term to being a competitive team because Love, I thought, looked good despite a few errors in this one.
Yeah. I mean, who knows, like, by the time it was kind of a blowout, how much is like Tampa throwing some different stuff at him, making him confused, all that kind of stuff. But I thought he did really good. And another one where, he actually looked good without his number one receiver again because Christian Watson just can't stay healthy, it seems like. So, I think that's a positive sign too. And yeah, I mean, everything he did, I thought checked all the boxes. I thought he was pretty efficient. There was a couple missed throws there, like you said, obviously the fumble too, but overall, I thought he did a pretty good job. I agree. I mean, he was just outplayed in this game because Baker Mayfield was like perfect, but I thought he did everything right in this game, and I thought it was a really positive performance. So, good job to him.
Yeah. Final thoughts on this game. David Moore, run into the end zone, then celebrate, buddy. That was a great play. I mean, the way he was doing, he was holding the ball backwards as doing, just get into, what are you doing? Why is that your celebration? Why is your celebration slow down at the goal line and hold the ball backwards? Maybe just get in.
Definitely likes to risk it.
Yeah,
Is Green Bay's defensive coordinator have a job tomorrow?
I think so. I think it's too late in the season. I think they keep him, but I
I
wouldn't
mean,
hate.
Matt Patricia just got a job apparently. Like,
Well,
I don't
he
know.
had a job. He just got like he was starting calling plays now.
Yeah, I think anybody else should call plays at this point.
That
Change
might be,
something
yeah.
up.
I don't disagree. I tweeted out he should be fired in the middle of the game. I think it was rough. It was rough. No denying that. Speaking of rough, the Buffalo Bills are just destroying the Dallas Cowboys here. The battle of the two MVP candidate quarterbacks, and again, it's weird. Josh Allen ended up with only 15 passing attempts, only 94 yards. So it's kind of a weird game. It was the James Cook show. 25 rushes by James Cook, 179 yards on 7.2 yards per carry. He also had 42 receiving yards. So he had over 200 yards on the day, which is, he had around the same amount of yards that both quarterbacks had combined passing in this game. Just a weird game.
Yeah, it was a weird game. I agree with you. And it was also weird just from like the scoreline standpoint because it was 21-3 Buffalo, and I thought Buffalo was the better team and deserved obviously to win this game. But then I was also like, okay, Dallas on the first drive. Dallas on the first drive, they stop them on 3rd and goal. There's a roughing the passer call. I did not think it was roughing the passer. I should start with that. I thought Josh Allen completely flopped on it, but regardless,
He does that. It is what it is.
yeah. So yeah, they instead of getting holding them to a field goal, they kick they get the touchdown, and then I think it was the Dallas's next drive. They get a run that would have easily put them into field goal territory. Instead, there's a holding call, moves them back to 3rd down. Instead of taking like a quick check down or something to try and get back into field goal range, they take a sack, have to punt away, and then the next possession, it was a roughing the kicker on the punt after going 3 and out. Then all of a sudden, Buffalo gets the first down, goes down and scores. And even in the second half, it was like after all that, there was like, a 2nd and 19 play. Josh Allen throws one up, which wasn't even really that good of a throw. The curse comes up and hits the receiver in the back of the head.
Yeah.
And that's a personal foul penalty. So, yeah, I think, all of that led to like 3 Buffalo scores. And all of a sudden, it was like Cowboys had stops there and kind of just shot themselves in the foot. So, Buffalo was definitely the better team. Buffalo deserved to win this game. They dominated at the line of scrimmage. I think one of the things we could talk about is like Dallas's run defense, which had looked like it improved a lot the last few weeks, definitely took a regression step in this game. But yeah, I mean, they looked they looked dominant at the line of scrimmage, did all that. They were the better team in this game. But I think Dallas also shot themselves on the foot so much in this game that kind of got it out of hand.
Yeah. Michael says, talk about Carolina's win. I know Kyle is pumped. Yeah, Kyle, did you, I'm just going to ask, did you look up the tankathon.com and just check to see where, what was it looking like on the first overall pick odds?
So we had the even strength of schedule thing earlier today. I haven't looked up what the update is.
I think Carolina has a slight, it's benefits Carolina slightly now.
Yeah, we just need maybe churn out a couple more losses here.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. And what's weird, you brought up the roughing the punter. I mean, that was a huge swing because what you didn't bring up is they had the punt blocked. Like it was a block, and he just misses the ball and hits the punter instead, which is a penalty. Like they had like that. I think if they get that, like that could have been like a huge swing. At the end of the day, though, I agree. I don't know if like the Bills offense really dominated the way you might think, but like the Cowboys, they got 3.4 yards per play in this game. Like at the end of the day, this offense was just not able to get much going whatsoever.
Yeah, and it seemed like early on that they had opportunities because Buffalo was keeping those safeties way over the top. They tend to do that. And yeah, I mean, it seemed like that they were opportunities to run the ball, and it seemed like early on they were going to take it, but then they fell behind and then just couldn't throw the ball in. I think the most impressive thing about this game was Buffalo's just line of scrimmage play on both sides, and they were able to get after Dak Prescott in this game too, which is something that not a lot of teams have been able to do this year with this Cowboys offensive line. I do know Zach Martin got hurt in this game. I didn't see if he came back, actually. I wasn't paying attention on that part. But yeah, I mean, they got after Dak Prescott at times in this game, and I thought really disrupted him and, frustrated this Cowboys offense.
For the Bills, I still don't have them actually making the playoffs according to my ESPN playoff machine, but they play Miami the final game of the season, and if they win that one, they would get all the way to they would get the 4 seed. They could win the division, so that's still in the cards for Buffalo. So a lot of important win here, gives them a shot, and for Dallas makes it real tough. 1 seed was possible, now feels impossible.
Yeah, so I guess we could break this down now because we're looking at, you mentioned it there. So we have currently the 3 AFC South teams at 8-6. Titans were eliminated today; they're 5-9. So the 3 AFC South teams are 8-6. Currently, Jacksonville does have the tiebreaker, and it's the 4 seed. But yeah, like I said, Indianapolis and Houston are right there. They're currently 7-8 by tiebreakers. You have Cincinnati Bengals at 8-6. You have the Cleveland Browns at 9-5, and you have the Buffalo Bills at 8-6. And I guess still lingering, technically, is the Steelers 7-7, Broncos 7-7, Raiders 6-8. I don't really, I don't think those 3 teams are going to make it.
I think you're sleeping on Denver. Has a bit of a favorable schedule, so I think they could go 3-0.
Yeah, I mean maybe. I mean Buffalo's going to win their next 2 games with ease. So that's at least one team with 10 wins. So that means Denver at minimum has to win out. And I don't think they have right now, what is the conference tiebreaker? They'd be tied.
They would get in. Yeah, if they're tied. Buffalo doesn't have a lot of tiebreakers. They pretty much have to win more.
Yeah. So they both played the Chargers and Patriots the next 2 weeks, ironically. So, I mean.
Denver plays New England, the Chargers, and then the Raiders. Like, that's why I'm saying, like, that's easily a 3-0. Like, that, not easily, but like they're going to be favored pretty heavily in the next 2, and they'll probably be favored by like 3 or 4 against the Raiders.
It almost feels appropriate that they lose to the Raiders and not make it. I mean,
why is everyone freaking out about Denver? Jackson put money on Denver. I'm not saying like I think they're great. I'm just saying like you can't count them out. They have 3 easy wins, and if they win those 3 games, they would win they would be in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you there. I think my point is I think Buffalo can get to 11.
Yeah, but they would have to beat Miami.
Right. I think they can win out. Like, and I think Miami can win their next. What are their next 2 games? Oh wait, they have a tough schedule, so maybe they don't win out. Maybe there's a lot at stake there, but I don't know. I mean, I still think they could pretty easily beat Miami too. So it'll come down to that last week, but it feels like it'd be crazy for them to still miss the playoffs at this point. And I think Josh Allen's been the best quarterback. It feels like everyone's coming around to our side now. Like we were just patient with it. Like, no, Josh Allen's still really good. Josh Allen, is actually putting together one of his best seasons ever. And now it feels like everyone's on that bandwagon of, oh wait, Josh Allen's actually carrying this team. And now everyone's back with us. We've been more pro Josh Allen than probably anybody this season. And now the tide's turning. So Josh Allen MVP train, let's get it back on.
That's why you listen to this show. We don't pay attention to the narratives, and then the narratives come back to us eventually. Sometimes, not always, but we'll forget about the times it doesn't work out. Speaking of a narrative, Kyle, Josh Allen is not getting the MVP buzz quite yet. Brock Purdy, all of a sudden, a lot of people are talking about MVP Purdy, if you will. The another dominant win by the 49ers cover, which I needed. So thank you, 49ers. Great week for my picks here, Kyle. I'm taking the lead now. Good stuff. Yeah. I thought Kyle actually played pretty well despite the tough box score. But again, he can't do it all. Him and Trey McBride can't do it all. And they had a couple nice runs as well. But I don't know. There was a moment here where Brock Purdy got injured, and I was thinking, oh no, is this going to happen again? No. Sam Darnold also got banged up in his 3 passes, but then Brock Purdy came in and was Brock Purdy the rest of the way. This team's very good. They win another game.
Yeah, they dominated. I thought we were sweating there for a little bit. I didn't think it was like too like nervous, but like, Arizona hummed for the first like 15 minutes. And then all of a sudden it was all San Francisco from there. And they looked dominant as ever. This offense just looks really difficult to stop. That's not a hot take, obviously. And, McCaffrey has a humongous day in this one. And, it's one of those things where it feels like any given week that like anybody can go off on this team. Like this week it was McCaffrey, and they still have Kittle, they still have Samuel and Ayuk, and it's just like you're going to have to pick your poison with this team every week. And as long as all four of those guys are on the field, it's really difficult to cover all four at all times. And that's what San Francisco does so well, is that, whatever you're going to pick, they're going to exploit.
Yeah. Brock Purdy, I want to talk about the Brock Purdy MVP stuff. To me, that's the more interesting, the game, whatever. Yeah. We knew how the game was going to go. I pretty much got all my thoughts on the opening thing. The Brock Purdy MVP stuff, though, I don't know. Brock Purdy's played I think Brock Purdy's a good quarterback. I also don't think he's the most valuable quarterback in the league this season, right? I think that's a fair take.
It's the reasonable take, but we're not in a reasonable society is the problem, no. Like, I'm not going to go like the whole, I don't want to say like Brock Purdy's like a top 5 quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to go like Steven Reese. He's like top 25 quarterback kind of thing. I don't know if you follow those quarterback rankings. They're talked about a lot. It's pretty funny.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, like, look, I think he's, I was a strong advocate early on that this guy's pretty good. But like, I don't think I could ever call him the best quarterback in football. Like, I don't think it was I don't think it'll ever reach that level for me. Like, I just can't. Like, I watch this, and yes, he makes all the throws. He's accurate. I get all of that. But I watch so many plays where guys are open by 10 yards because of what they do. Like, I get it. Like, he is really good. I think he's a solid quarterback. I think he's someone that I think would be worth kind of, keeping long term. But I don't think he's the most impactful player here. I just don't. And I'm not going to change that. I don't think he's one of the 5 most impactful players on this team. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. We have Rumham in the chat with bad take alert. Bad take alert. John just says, hater. Kieran's chat turning on Kyle. Hate to see it. I don't know. No, we all know Brock Purdy is not the best quarterback in football this year. Like, we all, right? We're all aware that he hasn't been the best quarterback in football. He's been a very good quarterback. I feel like it's weird. We're like, I like Brock Purdy. I think he's a good quarterback. I legitimately think he's a good quarterback. I legitimately think that he could be an elite quarterback. I think that's possible. But also, like I don't. The argument in his favor is purely passer rating.
Well, he's number 1 in EPA too, so he has that.
Well, box score, those team stats that are attributed to the quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, and he's going to have the key stat, which is quarterback wins. Everybody cares about that. I don't know, like it feels so cliche and kind of unfair to do it, but like, I would not. If Brock Purdy were offered for any of the top 5 quarterbacks, they would say yes in a heartbeat.
Yeah, right. If the Bills say, "Hey, we'll give you Josh Allen for Brock Purdy," like the 49ers aren't saying no.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I just like he may win it because, like you said, there is a chance Buffalo doesn't make the playoffs. There is, Dak obviously had a bad game today that probably moves him back a little bit. And you know what? He may win this thing by default at this point. And I don't even want to say by default because he has been good this year. But like,
sure.
I'm never going to call this guy a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. I don't think I ever will. And I don't know if we're making this best quarterback award. I don't think that he would ever, if we're making this best quarterback award, I don't think he deserves it for being the best quarterback because I just don't believe it.
Yeah, Elijah brings up it's an interesting conversation. I think he was PFF's 8th highest rated quarterback. Yeah, I think he's actually 7th. Yeah, I agree. That feels about right to me. Like that feels around where he's been this year. He's been a very, very good player. One thing that bothered me a little bit is the Brock Purdy has taken care of the football narrative. He hasn't. He's been actually below average at that. Like a turnover worthy play percentage is, a bit above average. No, that's not true.
Well, we need these numbers actually accessible to everybody. I think this is the thing that drives me crazy about football talk is like people don't like we've embraced advanced stats basically everywhere else except for football, it seems like at times. And I think a lot of it is because a lot of the advanced stats are behind paywalls, which I think bothers me to begin with. But I mean, like, I think we should be using turnover-worthy play rate instead of interceptions because I don't think that's fair. Not all interceptions are created equal. Josh
Mhm.
Allen takes care of the ball better than Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
Like you can flame me in the comments for that all you want. It's just a
Mhm.
fact. Like
Yeah.
watch the games. He takes care of the ball, takes care of the ball better. Just because he has more interceptions doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, no, I agree. Again, we can talk about it all day. At the end of the day, it's also funny because we are both big Brock Purdy fans.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, yeah, I mean, I do like him, but yeah, I mean, I just don't think I don't think he has as much value as these other guys. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, it is what it is. Interesting, lively discussion. Really,
Uh,
us versus the chat, which is fun.
yeah,
Yeah, let's work against our fan base.
yeah. I mean, it's fine. I mean, if they disagree, it's disagree. Everyone has an opinion, and you
Hmm.
know what? He still might win MVP this year. So it's not like I'm not the only one arguing for or against it.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. We could talk about this all day, but we have a lot of show to get through, and we're already 36 minutes in. So let's move on. Why don't we? Man, I don't even know where to go. I know, Kyle, you were hyping up this week like it's some great week. I feel like we've already covered all the interesting stuff. Not interesting stuff, all the
We got
good
two
games.
overtime games, didn't we? Or one overtime game, one that came down to a Hail Mary. We had this
Okay, sure. Bears, Browns, Bears. This is what a I don't know. Listen, I'm not saying it was. This is the Bears love to lose games. That's just the Bears are just they're determined to find ways to lose games.
that is definitely true. Um, the Justin Fields interceptions were pretty funny. End of the half, end of the game, Hail Marys. And not only that, it was like you said, they love to lose games because Darnell Mooney had the ball in the end zone. He literally has it
Yeah.
in his hands and did not haul that one in. This was a pretty ugly game. I agree. Both defenses did play well. I thought in this game, outside of obviously Joe Flacco threw for 375 yards, so that's one thing. But I thought both defense actually did well at times, and this was a game coming down to the wire. Cleveland with the big comeback win.
Yeah. I mean, huge game. Joe Flacco with the incredible Joe Flacco stat line of 374 yards on 44 attempts, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and does enough to get this Browns team to victory. They're just finding ways to win, I suppose. Cooper and Njoku both over 100 yards receiving, so that helps. Not a lot of good stuff with the ground game in this one. That was clear priority for Chicago, who's, again, their defense has completely turned it around. But again, passing game I know that you talk about the 2 interceptions, but also 40 passing attempts, 166 yards. Like that just
Yeah.
you give credit to Cleveland, of course. We didn't even talk about Montez Sweat, 2.5 sacks. He just been playing great since he came to
Yeah.
I kind of defended the trade because I think he's a good player, but he's also been playing his best football since going to Chicago as well.
Yeah, I mean, this was kind of the leap we wanted him to make, and he was already really good in Washington. So yeah, I mean, he's turned into a late edge rusher, and they're covering well. So I mean, there's a lot of good things to like. Obviously, it fell apart in the fourth quarter, but there are some good things with the Chicago defense, and I think that's one of the positives you take away. Like you mentioned the Justin Fields stuff. Like not only the interceptions, there were a few drops too, a few big drops.
Yeah.
I
Oh
thought.
yeah. There's one devastating one.
But yeah, I mean, overall, I don't think it was a good quarter. I don't think you could justify it as a good quarterback day, though. So, I agree with that. And I mean, this was a huge game for Cleveland, honestly. If winning this
Yeah.
one, I think is huge because, I mean, if they lose this, they're 8-6 and have to travel to Houston and to Cincinnati, 2 teams they're competing for playoff spots with. This at least gives them a little breathing room at this point of the year, and I thought that was huge. It could be the difference between them making and missing the playoffs at this point.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. It's a weird situation. I do think they get in. I do. I think they probably. I don't know. I don't know where to deal with. I don't know how to deal with Houston. But they play the Jets. You got to feel good about that. I guess unless Aaron Rodgers is there. But they could miss it as well. But I feel like they've gotten this far. Them getting in. But again, at the same time, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be a team that goes on a long run.
No, I don't think so either. That's the tough thing with this playoff team, this playoff picture in the AFC. I really would I want to find ways to get Indianapolis and Buffalo in because I think they could actually win a playoff game. But then I also watched this Cleveland team and Denver and maybe Pittsburgh if they manage to battle their way back. And I'm like, those teams aren't making the play. Those teams are one and done without a doubt, and they might still make the playoffs.
Yeah, it's going to be annoying when it'll be a little annoying when the Bills miss the playoffs and the Browns get in.
100%. Or Denver gets in, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't realize everyone had turned on Denver so much. I thought we all kind of felt like Denver was like, they're fine.
They're fine. We'll talk about it. Obviously,
Okay.
There's some things I thought were interesting.
Well, let's just get into it. We don't have to spend forever on it. But go to a Saturday game. I mean, it was a disaster. No getting around it. This is a tough day.
Yeah.
Lions looked awesome. I kind of thought the guard was offsides a little bit. Looked like his helmet was offsides a little. I don't know. That's just what I saw. I don't know. Jahmyr Gibbs was fantastic. Sam Laporta is like establishing himself as like an elite tight end already. He had 3 touchdowns receiving on the day. And the not a great day by the Broncos is putting it mildly.
Oh man, just heard a crash outside. I think someone crashed their car.
Oh,
that's not
good.
No. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, I mean, nobody cares about my fantasy team, but I had Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta, Las Vegas Raiders defense, and Devontae Adams this week, so I was feeling pretty good heading into Sunday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, this was a big bounce back game for Detroit. And like you said, the offense looked fantastic. All those guys came up big. Good stuff there. I mean, there's no notes for Detroit in this game. I thought they dominated. This was a big bounce back performance. I do want to talk about one thing though, because we had been doing this Russell Wilson. He's kind of back this year. It's not bad. This is much improved. I think when you watch this game, it's like this is the obvious issue with Russell Wilson and this contract situation is you're paying this quarterback all this money to win. You're paying this quarterback to be a franchise guy all this money, right? And like this team has zero capabilities of winning a shootout. Like they're even if they ended up throwing the ball a little bit in the second half, but there was no way they were keeping up with Detroit, even if their defense got a couple stops in this game, right? Like I think that's just the issue you have with this, where yes, Russell Wilson is taking care of the ball more. He's doing some better things this season. He's, looks a little more composed back there, but you're just not going to win certain types of games with the franchise quarterback that you're paying all that money. And that is where this probably, this Russell Wilson, happiness thing probably dies, right? Like that's where this comes to an end.
100%. I mean, that's why I've kind of maintained it feels like this is all gearing up to Russell Wilson has played well enough that you can get a team to trade for him if you keep like half of the contract you paid. Like that's kind of where you're at.
Yeah, but I mean, who's even signing on for that this year? Like, I don't know who's signing on for this version of Russell Wilson and half that contract. Because then that team's stuck in the very same boat. Like you could say, oh well, in Atlanta, you get out of this Desmond Ridder hell. Where you're going to get a guy who doesn't turn over the ball. But I still don't think Atlanta could win shootouts with Russell Wilson either, even with all that talent on their offense.
Well, the hope is that, you get him on an affordable contract. I don't know. The Saints just did it with Derek Carr, right? Like that's kind of the mindset.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be the hope. I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know who signs on for that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's at least an option. I still don't think that they're dead. Someone suggested maybe there's a UFO crash outside. Kyle, I hope you don't get abducted.
I don't know. I think that'd actually be cool.
Yeah, it'd be a nice story. If you were like, oh yeah, I got abducted by aliens once.
I want to see aliens before I die. That's my goal in life. I can't do anything to accomplish this goal. Like it just has to happen.
Nice. That's a good goal then.
I want to see an alien. Like I want to say what's up. We can crunch some tape together. Watch some Brock Purdy tape.
Okay, do you think aliens would be in favor of Brock Purdy winning MVP or Josh Allen winning MVP?
I don't know. I'd have to show them the tape and see what they think.
I think so. I think they would. But his look at his passing. Look at the statistics. Look at the box score.
Yeah, it leads the league in passing touchdowns. That's what the alien would say.
Yeah, the alien would be like protects the football.
Yeah, the communication part would be tough, obviously, to try and translate what football means. Because you remember that, what was that movie with Amy Adams?
Yeah, Arrival.
There you go. Like she has to teach him the language and it takes like forever.
You just have like X's and O's on the that's what you'd be doing.
I'm like John Madden up there just circling things.
Exactly. Yeah, what do you leave? Just leave Go ahead.
Yeah. this alien can only communicate people in football terms.
Yeah, exactly. Every time you say something, it's like the tweet. Like, can you explain it in football terms?
Oh man, that's fantastic. Hope
Yeah,
it
perfect.
happens.
Okay,
Fingers crossed.
maybe that could be a sequel to that movie potentially. We'll think about that. Let's move on. We're into Saturday games. There were some great Saturday games. An overtime winner from the Bengals. It looked like this was
Mhm.
over. It looked like the Vikings defense was just all over Jake Browning. Okay, Jake Browning fell down to earth. Kind of knew it was going to happen. All of a sudden, fourth quarter, Jake Browning happens. 3 touchdowns by the Bengals to force overtime, which they win. What a devastating loss for the Vikings, who would have felt really good about a playoff spot had they won this one. And a great win for the Bengals, who they're still fighting for the playoffs as well.
Uh, yeah, I mean, this was a huge one for Cincinnati. I mean, it seemed like they were dead, and I mean, as you mentioned, like, so everything we were worried about this game for Cincinnati heading into it with this Brian Flores defense, which has played fantastic this season. The concern would be that this Flores defense would overwhelm Jake Browning. It looked very much to be the case early on, and it looked like that the Bengals were going to be dead early in this game, and then all of a sudden, like you said, they came alive. He made some big plays down the stretch. I will say that last throw, like, I feel like I'm going to be like Paul George telling Damian Lillard that's a bad shot for the game winner. That was a terrible throw. It just worked out because T. Higgins is that good. And you know what? Maybe having really good receivers is a good thing for your offense. So that was a huge play there at the end to win that game. And great play by T. Higgins.
Also, that Damian Lillard shot was a bad shot, right? Like, it went
I mean,
in, but like it was a fun shot. It was cool. I like that he did it. But like it was probably not the like quote unquote smart thing to do.
yeah, I mean, it was not the most high percentage shot. I would agree.
Yeah, I
But
don't
when you're
know.
Damian Lillard, you can get away with it.
Yeah, and if you're Jake Brown, you can get away with this apparently, as they find a way. I don't know. Wow, yeah, that catch by T. Higgins was fantastic. I don't. It's not over for Cincinnati. It's really not. They play the Steelers, the Chiefs, and the Browns. Like, it's not crazy that they can go 2-1 in that stretch. That 10 wins that might get them in. I don't know. They're still fighting.
Yeah. I mean, they are still fighting indeed. I mean, they're in one of the pole positions now. I mean, I don't know what their schedule looks like down the stretch, but
I just told you.
Oh, what'd you say again? Sorry.
Come on, Kyle. I got to pay attention to what you're not listening to what I'm saying.
Sorry, I am listening. I missed that.
Steelers, Chiefs, and Browns. I do the same thing. You got to think about what you're going to say next when podcasting. It's okay.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, they still definitely could get in, right? Like, there's still a chance. Obviously, there's still a small margin for error with all these other teams winning around them, but they've won 3 in a row. The offense has looked good the last few weeks, and there is a shot here.
Yeah. Still, Anthony's still upset about the Brock Purdy thing. We're moving on, guys. We'll talk about it more on Wednesday. Okay. Come back, watch it then. Yeah. No. Very fascinating stuff with all of this. I will say this: Vikings offense looked competent with Nick Mullins, which was more than I was expecting.
Yeah. I think that
there
was
still a bad place.
Yeah, I mean, there was. I mean, that was a surprising thing. I thought, Cincinnati, usually, Big Lou as the defensive coordinator, I thought he was, they looked a little underprepared, it seemed like, for this game. And, Vikings took it to him early. So, yeah, I mean, I agree. There were some good plays. I don't know if I'm buying it long term, but long term is in the last 3 games of the season just to keep up. But, yeah, this game, I thought it was good.
Yeah, for Minnesota, they played the Lions twice. Listen up, Kyle. They played the Lions twice, and they played the Packers. So that is their 3 games, which it feels like probably underdogs in all 3. I think they also have a chance in all 3. They could beat the Pack. Split against the Lions and beat the Packers. I think they're in.
Yeah, so we mentioned this. We went through the whole playoff scenario for the AFC. Going through the NFC now, you still have all of those NFC South teams. You have Tampa Bay at the 4 seed at 7-7. New Orleans after the tiebreakers, just on the outside, 7-7. Atlanta 6-8, still in the picture. And then you have who is it? Seattle 6-7 at the 9 seed, still has to play. And then you have Minnesota at 6, 7-7. Los Angeles at 7-7. All of those teams, like you said, Green Bay still there too, 6-8. But I don't know. that felt like a pretty gut-wrenching loss there. I mean, there's still, some of these teams do have. I think Minnesota's not going to get that done. I think those games are too tough to overcome. So, it just comes down to, can the Saints get back into the picture, or is it going to be a Seattle? I mean, who's that going to be down the stretch? I think is a question.
Let's move on. Why don't we? Let's go to the overtime game today. This was a fun game. It was weird. I mean, Texans needed this one. Without C.J. Stroud, have to find a way to pull out the victory. And it was, Case Keenum. All of a sudden, the case. I don't know. I like Case Keenum. I feel like it's always fun to see him play football. Although usually maybe not necessarily your number one choice. Did enough in this game. Both teams, were. It wasn't the prettiest game, I suppose, but it was looking like it was going to be a tie for a second. But Texans win a game they had to win.
Yeah, no kidding. And this was a game where I was watching this early, and it looked like it was over almost immediately. Like, I think the Titans went up like 13-0 to start this game. And it looked like Texans just didn't have anything going. Like you said, Keenum, University of Houston guy, back with the Texans. That was pretty cool. And I mean, they kind of managed to persevere. They got after Will Levis. I thought this was a really well played game by the Texans defense, especially after that first quarter and change. And they kind of came alive and made some plays. And, down the stretch, Keenan made some big passes, and that was the difference. And, Tennessee, like, I don't want to say, I mean, they did kind of let this one slip away, and they're eliminated from the playoffs now. I mean, I guess we could do the obituary for it, but, like, the Tennessee still had a shot if they won this game, and, kind of blew it to a backup quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think they're that good. I think that's just what it comes down to. Their defense, weirdly, has actually stepped up and played well these past few weeks, but it had obviously its disastrous weeks earlier on. Got to talk about the Derrick Henry thing too. Like, I think they can't go in the next season assuming Derrick Henry is going to be a game-changing running back, right? He had 9 yards on 16 carries.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably going to require a change. I mean, I know they drafted Tyjae Spears, but I mean, you certainly, like, they had this cheat code where, it felt like they could just construct this offense around a running back, something nobody else could do, right? Like, they could play a certain style of football because they had Derrick Henry. This was the Tennessee identity where they were going to control the clocks. Derrick Henry was going to dominate games. They were going to play tough football. That's probably over, right? Like, they have to find a new identity now. They can't play that way because they don't have that running back. And Tyjae Spears, like, I like him. I don't think he's going to be the same as Derrick Henry, honestly.
They should trade for Bijan Robinson.
They could.
maybe that was the issue. When people said Bijan Robinson was going to be the next Derrick Henry, they meant they didn't specify which year Derrick Henry.
Yeah, that's true. Fair enough. They could trade for Tyler Algier. I mean, I don't know. But, I mean, even then, like, yeah, I don't – they're going to have to make some changes to everything they do. And I think this is going to be a long rebuild, I think. Like, I don't think this is something that gets fixed in a year. I honestly don't. Like, because this is the team that had a very established style of play that probably they don't go back to for a long time.
Yeah, I think it's starting to look that way. Also, we have Key ran in the chat saying Jackson back onto cocaine because I blow my nose a few times, and then DG says I doubt this channel makes that much money. Hey, I make enough money for cocaine if I wanted it.
We love cocaine on this channel.
I'm just saying if I was a cocaine user, I think I could afford it. Now, maybe if I was an addict, maybe not, but I don't think anyone can afford it if you're that addicted, right? I mean, there's always a line.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't say I know the going rate for cocaine, honestly. But, I mean, I guess I'll trust everyone's word for it.
I guess so. Maybe it's more expensive than I realized. I don't know. I assumed it's not, like, that expensive.
I don't know. What is, like, $15-$20 get me? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Like, I can afford like a car payment. I feel like if I can afford a car payment, I can afford cocaine.
Yeah. That's probably what all the Brock Purdy MVP candidate guys are on.
Probably. I think that's right. Let's move on. Interesting game. Let's go to your team. Why don't we, Kyle? For a second, it was starting to look like it could happen. For a second, it was starting to look like maybe there could be upset in the air. No, was not able to happen. Although again, I mean, the story. I know. I'm sorry. You would love the story to be about the Patriots. Story here, another not so dominant win by the Chiefs.
Definitely that. There were definitely some issues. Watching this game, like Travis Kelce is just like I know the Patriots do this. Your best option, especially when you have a singularly best option. That's probably the worst case scenario when you want to play the Patriots because they're just taking out that option, and they did in this game. Like Kelsey was not effective, but the fact that he feels like okay, I think is like he's solid or just very good. I think is a problem for the Chiefs, and it's something that we've kind of talked about all year. It's just like he's not the same level of impact guy, and even as I say, like the Patriots did all this to try and slow him down. We talk about all these other guys dropping balls. He dropped an easy touchdown in this game too. Like, so there were some misses on his part, and Rashay Rice stopped up, and I thought had a really nice day, and the numbers definitely back that up. Clyde Edwards-Helaire had some big plays. There were some things there. But yeah, man, I thought Mahomes, I thought even struggled early in this game. And, I thought he actually turned around and in the second half played some of his better ball this year. But in the first half, like the interception was just bad and late. And I thought one of the things that was noticeable in the first half, and I thought he played a lot better in the second half doing this too, was very more, kind of classic Mahomes-ish, is that the pressure stuff, like he does not look comfortable back there when he's pressured. And, he was probably maybe one of the best ever when it comes to, playing under pressure from the pass rush. And I thought in the first half of this game and at times throughout this year, he just hasn't looked like the same guy. And, like I said, he turned it around in the second half, but there were some shaky moments there early on.
It's going to be incredible when the Chiefs get the 2 seed and the Bills get the 7 seed. That's just going to be,
Man, what
electric.
a first round game. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
But no, I'm with you. It's weird. It just it's weird. Travis Kelce is nearing 1,000 yards. He's going to get 1,000 yards this season again. But you're right, where it's like Travis Kelce has been like an elite tight end this season, but that's all he's been. He's usually like a step above that, which is why it's like I feel like it's not quite as good. Rasheed Rice has to be the number one receiver. I don't know what they've been doing all season, having him be like, oh, we're gonna rotate him. Like, no, he needs to be out there basically every snap.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he was really good in this game, and he has to be out there more. I agree. And, the Kadarius Toney stuff, I mean, it popped up again in this one. And as I say, Mahomes had an excellent second half. His interception was off a drop pass from Kadarius Toney.
Oh, no.
It just popped off his hands and right into a defender. So that was the second half interception. The first half interception, he was late on that one. But yeah, I mean, I think overall, like just as far as this game goes, the Patriots had no shot at winning this game, and I accept that. And the thing is everything went right for the Patriots in the first half. Like they won the turnover battle in the first half. You could argue Bailey Zappi in the first half outplayed Patrick Mahomes, and
is he better than Mahomes?
No.
Okay.
But yeah, so he outplayed Mahomes. They won the turnover battle, all that kind of stuff, and they were down 14-10. So that's just the kind of thing. Like they're not going to win games when things go right and you're still losing. That just tells you you're a worse team than your opponent. And then in the second half, it opens with the Sky Moore, I think, had a reception that was fumbled and recovered by the Patriots. There was this bogus defensive holding call that turns into a Chiefs score that pins the Patriots instead of being in Chiefs territory after the fumble return. That pins them back in their own territory. Zappi with a bad interception leads to a Chiefs touchdown. And then from there, the game's basically over. Too bad they didn't let the players on the field decide the game, though. That's just unfortunate. Besides that, Chiefs are better.
Yeah, good stuff. I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'll give you 2 minutes to talk about your team while you do that. How's that sound?
Yeah, I'll talk about the Patriots real quick.
Okay,
like I said, good. I did not think obviously there were a lot of things that I thought went right in this game. Still had no shot to win it. I thought Zappi in the first half was actually pretty good and, kind of cemented himself as a potential backup quarterback in this league. Second half, not so good. I thought he tried to make too much happen on that interception ball and just made a bad throw because of it. But I mean, I don't know. I don't want to talk about the offense that much because there's just not really much to talk about. Good Hunter Henry game. He's looked really good these last couple of weeks. I think he's got 3 touchdowns the last 2 games. So that's been really good for him. But this Patriots defense did well again. I actually thought they had a shot to cover Kansas City in this game, and I thought for the most part they did. I know Rice kind of had his number. Jabril Peppers had another really nice day. Christian Barmore. I mean, I continue to say Jabril Peppers and Christian Barmore, I thought have been the 2 best Patriots all year. And especially given the injuries to Judon and Christian Gonzalez. And they, again, came up with some big plays in this game. Barmore had a sack. He had a couple big hits. Peppers had some nice plays. He also had the fumble recovery that was called back by the bad call. So, yeah, I mean, I thought there was some really good stuff there. But overall, like, this Patriots team bad. Chad Ryland stinks. That's another thing. They got rid of Nick Folk for no reason. So that's all my Patriots stuff.
I like DG in the chat. Jackson doing a bump. No, I do not do cocaine. That's not true. DG, stop it.
We're gonna make this a thing now. There we go.
I don't know. Maybe that's why my picks have been doing so good. I've been just wired, focused on football. I've been nailing the pick'em show.
Does Kyle have a rainbow poster? What rainbow poster? That's all Kobe Bryant. That's Dr. J and Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. I don't see a rainbow poster. Anyway.
Maybe it's meant in general.
No, I don't.
Maybe they sell rainbow posters and want to know if you want one.
That'd be sweet. I guess send one my way.
Yeah.
No, I actually have a rainbow Orlando City soccer scarf, but that's about it.
Okay, well, let's move on. Good stuff there with that one. Again, I don't know. Let's go, I guess, balls at Rams here, because it was weird where there was a moment where it kind of felt close in like the third quarter. The Commanders got a touchdown, and for a second it looked like Terry McLaurin had like this crazy catch, but then it wasn't a catch. All of a sudden, they put in Jacoby Brissett, like, okay, the game's over. Jacoby Brissett, in well less than half the attempts, ends up with more passing yards than Sam Howell. He was throwing dimes left and right all of a sudden to get them back in it. I don't know. I know this is a weird way to start this game, but Jacoby Brissett, top 32 quarterback in football, right?
Yeah, this is what I continue to say. All of these quarterback issues we had this year, not a single person thought about calling Washington for this guy. And then Washington didn't play this guy when Sam Howell was just like falling apart. Jacoby Brissett is good. I think he should get a job next year. I think he, one of these, average teams could definitely take a guy like him and be kind of successful. And he was really good in this game. Made some really good throws down the stretch. And like you said, like this game felt over forever. And then all of a sudden it was like interesting. And, but I still thought the Rams were going to win the game, but yeah, I mean, Washington definitely made it, a bit of an adventure that I thought was interesting. And I got to say, the Balls love blown coverages. I don't think I've ever seen more blown coverages from a defense like ever.
Yeah.
Like just week after week, there's always one. And it's always like Tyreek Hill or Cooper Kupp. It's never like, Ben Skowronek that's blowing, breaking off deep and someone forgets to cover him. It's like, oh, we should probably cover Cooper Kupp. Oh, there he goes for an 80-yard touchdown. Okay.
Yeah. So. It's also disaster by the Balls when they were down 14, but they had the ball inside it was first and goal. They ended up taking like, 2.5 minutes off the clock when it was like there's 4.5 minutes left. It ended up, they scored, but it wasn't until the other side of the 2-minute warning due to penalties and things like that. They were letting the whole clock run on some of these plays. And then they decided to not go for 2, not do the analytics play, only for the field goal attempt to be blocked. So at that point, you felt pretty clear that the Rams were going to win.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So
the Rams are good.
Yeah, Rams are solid. I'm looking forward to seeing this team if they can make the playoffs. I think, the absolute most fun scenario is Indianapolis, Buffalo, Los Angeles, Seattle in the playoffs, right? Like that's what we want, but that's not what we're going to get.
Right. We're going to get the Buccaneers, the Saints, and the Vikings.
Yeah, probably.
Mm-hmm. I think so. I think, well, I don't know. I wouldn't be against Green Bay. I think they're interesting.
Yeah, they're interesting enough. I just think Seattle's a bit better, but they are interesting.
I don't think they're a top. yeah, I agree. I think Seattle's a better team. I just think, sometimes it's not about the better team. It's about the team with a storyline as well.
Yeah. So Los Angeles, for comparison's sake here, has the Saints, the Giants, and then the 49ers to end the season. I feel pretty good about them winning these next two games. Saints will be interesting, I guess. Giants, they should beat. Then it comes down to that's, how much is San Francisco playing for there? Do they have the 1 seed locked up? Does somebody else have the 1 seed locked up? Because that could be important. I think, I don't think they'd beat San Francisco, but if San Francisco has nothing to play for, then maybe they win out.
Yeah. I think as long as the Rams can win on Thursday, it's a weird scenario where, as a Buccaneers fan, I'm actually kind of rooting for the Saints to win on Thursday, even though because basically Tampa Bay has it set up that if they win their last 2 games of the season, then they would win the division either way. But there's a chance they could also, if they lose against the Saints, make the playoffs if the Rams lose. So a lot of weird. It's at the point where there's just like a million different things, and you kind of just have to watch and see how it plays out.
Yeah, for sure. So, still a lot at stake here, but good win for the Rams, and this passing attack still looks really good, and Kyron Williams,
Yeah.
Continues to put together an awesome season in the backfield too. So, a lot of good stuff there.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff. Let's move on. A lot of bad stuff with the Chargers. Who knew Justin Herbert was that valuable?
Oh my God.
And in fact, I didn't even think Easton Stick was like a terrible or anything. Like it was just like, I mean, this went completely off the rails. The head coach and GM fired immediately after this game, which you kind of had to do. Great win for the Raiders, but yeah, what a disaster by the Chargers.
Yeah, this was bad. I don't think Easton Stick was terrible, but it was also 42-0 before he even got going. Like, I don't know. So I think there's a little bit of a variability there. I don't think he was that bad, but I also, didn't think he was that impactful. And this was embarrassing. Like this is almost as embarrassing as losing 70-20. And the coach deserved to get fired after this game. Like this had to be it. This had to be enough to pull the trigger there. And we have been saying that it felt like this team was the worst team in football without Justin Herbert. And, I think the first week of evidence points in our direction there.
Yeah. This might be worse than at least the Broncos gave up 72 to Dolphins.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. This team scored 0 points last week. The Raiders scored
That's
0
the funniest thing. That's the best. Yeah. It's like they went from not even in a full week going from 0 to 60 literally.
Yeah, just unbelievable. Like that's horrendously bad. At this point now we're talking about what is the chart still technically not eliminated from the playoffs mathematically. Incredible. But, obviously we're talking about what the Chargers do next. Do you throw the house at Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels?
I don't think so. I think that they go with. I think you got to go for an offensive guy, right?
Well, that's why you bring in Josh McDaniels too, I guess, right?
I guess I don't know. I think there's. It's not the worst thing. It's not the worst you could do. You can do worse, but
as long as they don't make Bill Belichick their GM, I think I'd be for it. But like if he asked for like a GM job too, because that's what he's been doing, I think that's where you probably have to say no.
Yeah, Anthony is Anthony's disagreed with me a lot on this show, but we're in lockstep here. Ben Johnson seems like he's the one that just feels like it should happen because I think the Chargers literally can get the pick of the litter. Like I think anyone's going to want to go there, right?
I would assume so. Just because they have Herbert, but Ben Johnson equally is going to have his pick of the litter too, right? Like he should be able to pick his job this offseason. And I think that's the problem. Is like I think Ben Johnson would be a great hire for anybody, but I think he has more leverage than any team this offseason. So we'll see how that plays out. I continue to advocate. I think I keep forgetting his name though. I think it's Ben Slowick or something like that. The Texans offensive coordinator, I think, deserves a shout for a job too, because I think he's done a fantastic job this season.
And he was in that famous the Washington Redskins at the time coaching staff with like McVay and Kyle Shanahan and all those guys. So yeah,
was he in that crew?
Yeah.
Yeah. It would make sense. I mean, he's done a really good job this year, so I think he's going to get some interviews. So I mean, but yeah, I think Ben Johnson's going to have an interview with basically every available team this year, and he's going to be able to pick.
Listen, you could do worse than a guy who has 8 Super Bowl rings. Belichick would not be a terrible hire by any means, but I just don't know if he's number one on the list. But yeah, or even Mike Tomlin, who knows? Could be some big name head coaches. Let's move on. Speaking of Mike Tomlin,
Yikes.
a disaster. This Steelers team, they get the blocked punt, which is like, okay, Steelers magic. It's happening again. They're up 13-0. They give up 30 straight points to the Indianapolis Colts, who are a good team. I don't know if they're a great team, but they're a good team. But this was I think, I'll give this Colts their credit right away. Definitely very good. Defense made a bad offense look worse, all that good stuff. But this was a disaster by the Steelers.
Yeah, definitely disaster by the Steelers. A lot of things. I mean, like they couldn't tackle Trey Sermon. Like I honestly forgot Trey Sermon was still in the NFL before this game. Like, is that a fair thing to say? And
Yeah.
they couldn't stop him in the second half. And, it was him and Tyler Goodson. And, Gardner Minshew continues to put together a really strong season after some shaky games. I mean, outside of trying to kill Michael Pittman in this game, he has just, delivered some really big throws at some really big moments. So, all of that stuff from the Colts offense and the Colts defense, I think deserves a ton of credit too, because they've played well. But yeah, I mean, talking about the Steelers team that's crumbling at the seams, and it's never a good situation where like the fans are cheering for Mason Rudolph to get in the game, right? Like,
yeah, and he was so bad. I mean, he was he was just terrible.
Yeah, I think he is. I think that is a bad omen if he's gonna try and save your season. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I guess what this kind of does is show that maybe Kenny Pickett isn't all that bad. I still don't think he's good, but like, I mean, at least it gets worse.
It definitely gets worse, that's for sure. And it has gotten worse these last 2 weeks, and this probably is the end of Mitch Trubisky in the NFL.
Is this the end of Mike Tomlin for the Steelers? Do they trade Mike Tomlin?
Man, I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's going to get. I don't know. Like,
it's just weird. I think the argument is like, I think Mike Tomlin is a good coach, but it's also like the Steelers can't really tank because they're almost stuck in mediocrity every year because he finds ways to get them to be around average when their talent is nowhere near that.
Yeah, I mean maybe, but like I don't know. Like I still think you can get such good players with like middle draft picks in the NFL. Like I don't think it's like that like damaging of a thing to be average, because you can turn things around still, and there are still good pieces about this team. I just don't know. I don't think he did a good job in this game. I will say that. I thought there were some punts that I thought were questionable. Now, granted, I also think this is kind of the Bill Belichick thing where I do think he could be more aggressive. But when your offense also sucks, it also is hard to say, okay, go for it on every 4th and 3, 4th and 2, because the math says so. When like Najee Harris is not getting 3 yards, like we're not getting the first down here. So what is the goal for me to go for it on this 4th down just because the math says it when my team can't do it? We can't do this statistically. So I think there's the same argument there that like Belichick can bring up too. But like, I don't know, man. It's just like I don't think this was a very well prepared game and a well executed game for the Steelers. But I still think it's Tomlin. I wouldn't give it up.
Yeah, the kind of the bad one was had an opportunity to kick a field goal to try to go down 8. It was would have been like a 57-yarder, elects to punt instead. I think that was the one that people were really critical of, which was probably fair. I think it was probably a good idea to kick the field goal. It also was not why they lost at all. This offense can't, like, no coach is winning football games with this roster. Like I think I tweeted it out. Like when I'm watching this game, I'm not like, man, this coaching staff sucks. I'm like, man, how is this team 7-7?
Yeah, I mean it really, they do still have that magic sometimes. So yeah, I mean, I think there is like, we keep waiting for a couple of these guys on this team to kind of take the leap to the next level, and they just haven't. And yeah, I mean, it feels like it's a lost season at this point, honestly. Like maybe they turn it around towards the end, but I'm just not seeing it. I'm not seeing it with this team.
Yeah, I think give it a year, give him a better offensive coordinator, get a better quarterback. I think, I think it'd be too reactionary to get rid of him right now, I think. But I get the argument.
If you're going to say that you're going to take the offensive decision making out of his hands, then I get it. Like you say, we are going to find an offensive coordinator for you that's going to run their offense. I would understand that.
Yeah, I agree. Let's talk. I don't know, a couple of blowouts here. Giants, Saints. I'll say this: good win by the Saints. I thought I thought Carr looked. I kind of think Carr's looked better these past few weeks. Like that's kind of been an underreported story. I still don't know what we. I mean, okay, last week wasn't great actually by the Panthers. He looked good in this game. I'll give him that. But I don't know how much we're going to sing the praises of Derek Carr. But hey, how about the what Jimmy Graham thing? Jimmy Graham's actually had a few touchdowns this season. Interestingly enough, red zone target. Jimmy Graham still
Yeah.
here. But Giants looked like the Giants again this week, but the Saints looked good, and a huge win for the Saints with the Falcons losing. Now all of a sudden they're in a position where if they beat Tampa Bay in a couple of weeks, they have a great shot at the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, the Saints still can't really throw the ball downfield at all. I mean, part of that is like they were missing two of their receivers too. I mean, Thomas and Olave were out, right? So, there's a few that plays a part in it. But yeah, I mean, they couldn't throw the ball downfield. But yeah, I mean, Carr was accurate. He was quick with his decision making and made good throws. I thought it was a good win for the Saints. I agree. They ended drives with touchdowns, and I think that's half the battle with this team at this point. So it was a good Saints win. I thought the defense was impressive. I mean, sacking the Giants at this point isn't like a big deal, but they got after him and dominated. And like you said, good win.
Yeah, I have nothing else to add to this game. I think that's all I have to say.
The Giants quarterbacks have been sacked 76 times this season, and there's 3 games to go. I don't think there was a record that was broken before it, but I remember David Carr got sacked 72 times that Texans season, and it was like the inaugural Texans season.
Interesting.
I don't know what the lead is for a team. I would imagine it's still higher, but 76 sacks in 14 games is like malpractice.
Yeah, it's tough. It's not good.
Yeah. Not good at all. I agree.
That is this situation. I don't know. The Giants are they're not a great football team. I don't know what else to say. I don't know what to add here. Sorry, this is not a great podcasting. I apologize.
I mean, they are throwing the ball better the last few weeks. I do think that was still a little bit better, but it's still, yeah, I mean, like when the Saints are going to play like this and actually look like a, borderline playoff team, like there's just not enough there. I agree.
Yeah. All right. Are we allowed to move on, or do we need to do more Giants Saints?
No, let's get out of this game.
Yeah. Let's go Jets Dolphins. Here's what we're all here to talk about. It was announced prior to this week that maybe Aaron Rodgers would play if the Jets can pull off a victory and attempt to motivate the guys, galvanize the troops. They lose 30-0 in this one,
Kyle. Did not galvanize the troop, it seems. But
no.
yeah, I mean, I do think, this, you could chalk this up as a good win for Miami. Look, they should have and rightfully dominated this Jets offense. They, shut them out, obviously. 80 net yards passing when you include sack yardage. But I thought the big thing in this game was like no Tyreek Hill, which is always a question when it comes to Miami. How's this offense going to look? And Tua played well, almost 10 yards per completion, almost 9 yards per attempt, basically. And Jalen Waddle had a big touchdown in this game. And, I think he went through three incompletions on 24 pass attempts. So, I think that's a good performance for Miami as far as the offense side goes against a defense that had played really well the last few weeks too. So, seeing them play well without Tyreek Hill, I thought was a huge thing, and good win for Miami on that spot.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if we're gonna put I don't know, some people in the MVP discussion, which I will not name. Like, I think Tua belongs in the discussion as well. I don't think he wouldn't be my pick, but like, again, if I'm giving a top 5 list, he's probably on the top 5.
Yeah, I guess.
Oh, so you're not Tua or Purdy? Who do you got?
Purdy.
Purdy? Are you just saying that because you don't want the chat to get mad at you?
No, I would have Purdy higher. But yeah, I mean, I think in the same vein, yes, I would have them in the same breath. Yes.
I think I would go Purdy a little higher as well. Yeah, because I think Purdy hasn't had the down moments. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, the bounce back win after the kind of rough last week.
Dumb loss, you mean? Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, however you want to say it. Again, it's the Jets. I mean, weirdly, the Jets scored less. I mean, they got shut out, but they somehow looked worse than when Tim Boyle was starting. That's never good.
Yeah, I mean, this was bad Zach Wilson. Everyone was saying Zach Wilson was back last week, and he's clearly not back. So, yeah, I mean, this was, or I guess he was back to what normal Zach Wilson is this week. So, this wasn't a good performance for the offense, and more questions for the Jets heading into the end of the season.
The Dolphins have such a wild end of the season where they could be anywhere from the 1 seed to out of the playoffs, depending on how this goes. Because if they win out, they're the 1 seed. They play Dallas, Baltimore, and Buffalo, so they're not winning out, or at least probably not. Looks
Yeah.
tough. But if they can somehow find a way to win those three, then they're the 1 seed. If they lose those three, I still actually think they get in. But it's not. It's not a guarantee in that scenario. I think they probably at least win one of those, and probably my guess is they kind of comfortably get in. But it's not, a lot of ways this season can go for the Dolphins.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think this is a big 3 weeks for them. Honestly, like they're beside. I don't really buy into the narrative all that much because, like, I don't. I thought they played well against the Chiefs. I thought they played pretty well against the Eagles too. They had opportunities to try and win those games. Like, I don't think losing to good teams means that you can't ever beat a good team, right? But this team hasn't beat a playoff. I mean, just scanning their schedule, this team hasn't beat a playoff team this season unless the Broncos make it. And that's obviously a very wildly different Broncos team than what they beat. So yeah, I mean, Cowboys, Ravens, Bills. I mean, this is an opportunity for them to make a statement, I feel like. So, we'll see how they look these last 3 weeks of the season, and this should be fun.
Yeah, it should be a fun final stretch. I don't know. My last thought, I guess, with the Jets, this team still isn't a championship contender, even with Aaron Rodgers, right?
Doesn't feel that way, right? Like, we I think when we set our preview that, like, this team has a ton of variance. Like, the ceiling of this team is the Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. But I think when we looked at all of our concerns with the Jets, they're still kind of coming to fruition with this team. Like, the offensive line for this team hasn't been good. The running game hasn't been effective, partially because of that offensive line, but because it hasn't been effective. And the secondary guys outside of Garrett Wilson have been bad. Like, Aaron Rodgers would definitely lift this offense, but does Aaron Rodgers make this a top 20 offense? I don't think he does. And I still think that's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. They need to address the wide receiver position, and they need to get the offensive line under control. Fortunately for them, they have a first-round pick to do it, which they wouldn't have if he was playing. So I guess there's maybe a silver lining there. Kyle, that's your show.
That is our show indeed. Long show, lot to talk about, and 3 weeks left. 3 weeks left. We'll see how it goes down the stretch here, and should be fun.
Yes. Kyle, let them know where they can find us on Twitter before we head out.
Yeah, make sure to follow us on Twitter. That is at Jackson Kruger. Make sure to follow me at by Kyle Grondin. And make sure to follow the account page at On the Sideline JK. That is at On the Sideline JK.
Of course, if you like audio-only podcasts, anywhere you get your podcast, just search On the Sideline Podcast. It'll be available there. And yeah, that's it. I have no final thoughts. Ready to get out of here?
Yeah, we can get out of here for sure. So, good show, everybody. Thank you for tuning in, and tune back in Wednesday.
Any hockey chat, Kyle?
Bruins got absolutely hosed by the Rangers last night. That was complete BS. Just some terrible, terrible officiating in that game. There was 2 bad high sticking calls. There was a game misconduct call on Pasternak where he hits the guy in the shoulder. And all of that led to a 2-1 loss in overtime because they scored on a power play. Just absolutely shameful. So I thought that was bad, but that's me being a salty fan too. So whatever.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. The Lightning season is mostly this Kucherov being fun, which is not a bad season. I don't know. Sometimes it's fun when your team isn't that good, but you have like a star player going off.
Yeah. He can go nuts even though it means nothing. Yeah. I mean, I agree with that. So, yeah. But yeah. I mean, I don't know. The second high sticking penalty that led to the goal was literally the Rangers player knocking the stick with his arm into his own face, and the Bruins got called for a high stick. I'm like, that's not how the rule. It was infuriating.
Well, wait, did he knock the stick into the? Because you have to have control of your stick.
What?
You have to have
No, he
control of your stick.
reaches in for a poke check, and then the
Oh.
Rangers player takes his hand off his stick to knock it into his face.
I see. So he grabs the stick and hits it into his face.
Basically, yeah. It
Well,
was
maybe
crazy.
I don't know. Maybe have more control of your stick. Find a way to win.
No.
A penalty doesn't end the game, Kyle. You got to overcome bad breaks.
Yeah, I mean they should have scored more, honestly. So that's the problem. But Rangers are flopping losers. I can't wait till they're bounced from the playoffs. That's my takeaway.
All right. Yeah, I forgot. I don't know. Rangers are just funny to me.
I mean they're good, I guess.
Yeah. They're always
I-
good. Oh, look out for the Rangers. Then they always fall apart in the playoffs.
I don't think I'm buying this team as a cup contender. So
No. I mean, it's
I
just
don't
because
know.
Lightning seemingly beat them a lot, but I don't know. I've never been. They're one of those teams I can just never fear for whatever reason.
they're not quite the Hurricanes, but I agree with you.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Well, let's get out of here. Yeah, that's your show. I'm assuming you have no final thoughts.
No final thoughts. Let's get out of here.
All right. Well, again, thank you to everybody for staying up, especially people 1:30 on the East Coast. We do this because we have sort of the obligation. I mean, if you're just doing this for fun, we appreciate all of you for sure.
Yes,
It's always, but we enjoy it. We would do it. I mean, again, it's not we're making a lot of money with the podcast. We just like doing this. Thank you to everybody. We do appreciate it. Until next time, have a good one.
Peace.
Kieran says 6:30 in the UK. That could be good or bad. I don't know which way you're going. Is it AM or PM?
Damn. They're ahead
I would
of
assume
us.
so. Yeah. But oh my God, what are you doing? Kieran. Okay. Yeah. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.